Hey guys, it's Ingrid. Welcome. Today we're going to play with some dies. You can see I've got two brand new cover plates by Catherine Pooler. They are just about to be released. And we're going to have another one in another project. I'm going to do 3 projects just to kind of give you an idea. I use this gel medium by Liquitex to seal these 2 die cuts. And that is what I do when I use dies as stencil. And that's just one way to use a die cut. I'm going to show you a couple ways on how to use your dies just to kind of stretch your products that you might have and get a little bit more versatility from them. Be sure to stay tuned till the very end. And I'm also going to link to a video where I show you how I actually seal my die cuts or stencils, whatever product you want to seal. You can see right here, I'm just going to adhere these down. Anytime you're working with stencils, you want to make sure that your project, in addition to your stencil, is not going to move, because there's nothing worse than doing all that work and then having something shift and kind of getting a double line. We're going to use some life-changing brushes. I love these kind of oval makeup brushes, and that's really what they were originally intended as. The life-changing brushes were made for paper crafting, but you can also use the makeup brushes that you can find online as well. And I've got links to all the products that I'm using down in the section below. We're going to start off with some lemongrass, which is actually one of the newest colors by Catherine Pooler. And I love it. It's kind of like that yellowish green, as you can see, but a little leaning, I feel a little bit more towards the yellow side. And these are all in the Spa collection, all the colors that I'm using. I'm going to use all 3 colors on 3 different projects today. Next up, we have Rouge, which, you know, I have to say is probably my favorite red in the collection now. And you can see here, we're going to speed this up, and you can see that we've got some really nice blending going on. These brushes really make this very effortless. And when you're working with stencils, you just want to make sure that if you have some pieces that can kind of move around, you can see me holding that down, because you don't want that to really shift on you. And using dies as stencils is probably one of my favorite ways to stretch that particular product. I love that I can take something that was intended to lay on top of a project and use it in a totally different way with mediums, ink, you know, and it just creates a very, very interesting look. Now what I'm doing is I'm bringing in the lemongrass to give that extra pop that this project needed, just to brighten it up as we had layered down all those dark colors. I always start with the lightest one and then I end with the lightest one, and that really helps. And look at that. We used Mandarin Spice, Daydream, Lemongrass, and Rouge, and I love this combination. It's fun, and you know what? It's kind of like a party. It's really kind of hard to believe that these are spa colors, more of the muted line of Catherine Pooler inks. Now, even though my stencil has some color on that, has been sealed, and I can use it many times with various mediums, which I'm definitely going to do. So next up, we're going to use the Hello from Scatter Sunshine. This is also one of the new stamp sets that's also being released. I'm going to position, I chose one of the sentiments, and I'm going to position it in my Misty, because I went to all that trouble to create that amazing background, and I'm going to stamp this a few times with Midnight ink because I want it super, super dark, because it's going to sit on top of that amazing ink blended background. So because of, and I'm going to speed this up, so because of that, the Misty comes in very handy so that I can do it multiple times. And you can see here I'm getting a really, really deep dark tone there. Now I also have a little tiny strip Sending You A, and that is from another previously released stamp set. All the products are linked below, so be sure to check those out. And we're just going to glue that on there and snip off the excess, and just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea of what a difference your card base can make. Here you see it on black, which is striking and bold. Now this is what it looks like on white. It's a totally different look, and I think that if I did that, I may even do the Sending You A on white as well. But I ended up opting for the black because, you know what, I really love the bold and striking look. Don't you? You got to tell me in the comments below whether you like it better on the black or the white. And then here's a real good close-up of just how awesome those colors are when they overlap each other. They're so translucent. I love using Catherine Pooler inks for my ink blending, and I think you would really enjoy them too. So next up, we're going to use this funky alphabet, and I'm using this really great border stamp here at the bottom. Did you notice all the cool extra little stamps in that stamp set? It's another new one by Catherine Pooler. And we're going to line up our project in the Misty. And Misty is very key for this project. We're also going to use the new Hello die. That's just one of 2 dies. It also has an even larger border, so you can create some really amazing projects. But we're going to use that piece. We popped out the actual letters, so we're going to use kind of like the negative of it. And those were our colors. Same 4 colors as the last project. We're going to start off with Daydream here at the bottom. And a Misty is key because I kind of am able to do this a few times. When I'm using long border stamps, a lot of times, sometimes you miss one little spot. And this way just helps you to ensure that you get a really nice, even impression. Now, the key is you're going to have to clean this off in between. You want to try to not move your stamp like you just saw over on the left. I got a little bit of water underneath that, which made it not stick so well. So I needed to make sure that that was positioned right before moving on to the next one. And then I'm just going to go ahead and shift this. Now, normally I would shift this by an even number, say 2 grid marks, but that seemed to be a little too much space. So what I did was I kind of moved it back up a little, and I kind of did 1 and an 1/8 or a 16th kind of. 1 is in a 16th actually. So you just want to kind of keep it even. I kind of had watched for how often or how much the space was in between, and I just kind of kept that the same and uniform throughout. It was a little easier because you have the curly cues to the right and left of the project, and then I always made sure it was lined up with that left grid where the card edge is. Now you can see the Hello die. You can kind of see where we're going with this. We just have one more color. That was Mandarin Spice. Last up is the Rouge. And these 4 colors are really fun together. You know, they're part of the Spa collection like I mentioned in the first project, but you know, they're really kind of a party. You know, even though they're more of the muted collection, I just love them. I gravitate towards the Spa line. Now here's some foam tape, and the key with this, obviously it's a little wider than I need because we're using the negative space of this die. So I cut that kind of in half, and then I'm going to do a full strip on the top and bottom. But here's the tip for you. When you're working with a lot of negative space like that, you see all those little tiny pieces? I just tore those off with my finger or cut them with scissors. You really want to make sure to have a little bit on there because it's important so that all that spot gets raised up because it's such a large die. It's really crucial. Otherwise, it kind of gets pushed down and flattened in the mail, and that's not really a look you're going for. I love how the negative space of this is actually what makes this die. It's such a cool look, and it's a great way to use a die. And if you wanted to do this on your own without having a die that was already pre-done like this, just take a word die and cut it out of a rectangle, a square, or a circle. And last but certainly not least, we are going to create a similarly ink blended background using this fun little cover plate with all these little random dots. I mean, there's so many things you can do with this cover plate. I'm going to use the same 4 colors, and as you remember from the first cover plate that we turned into a stencil, you're just going to go ahead and just use those amazing brushes to create some very flawless ink blending. And you always want to come back in with that lemongrass to just kind of give that project a pop. But think of all the different uses for this plate. It would make great snowfall, just very random dots. You can do it with textures, with mediums, then sprinkle some glitter on top to make it just a glittery snowfall background. So many things you can do. Remember that hello, those little letters. This is another great use for your dies. Now you can also think of, you know, word dies or other things like that, or individual letters. And you can create your own words if you have individual letters, or even just with a word die, just popping it over an amazing background like this. It's a very simple thing. You could create a mixed media background, you know, using a gel plate and some paints. You just do some basic. I mean, I love these colors. I think it's kind of fun. You're going to pop that up, obviously, onto a card base. I'm choosing to do it on black because I love that look, and it kind of coordinates these 3, and all of a sudden I have a quick little set of cards that I can gift anybody or send out in the mail. I've got some really cool techniques in this top video right here, and definitely check out the other video below for more ink blending fun. And of course, I would love it if you subscribed. So I'll see you over in one of those 2 videos. Till next time, bye-bye.